So to everyone in the audience already, you can post in the event chat channel. Can someone just post there and let us know if they can hear me okay? How's the volume?
Seems to work. All right. Perfect sound. Great. Well, thanks everyone for joining in. Today is the first time that me and Bri are doing the stream together. So a couple of weeks ago, we already sent a message on the server that Bri is our new design director for the game. And Bri, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, I have been working with Kingdom Builder for the last month. Before that, I have been in games since 2003. I started making games for Game Boy Advance, and I guess I've got close to 80 games now that I've worked on. So, yeah, other than games, I do music and electronics mostly. Um, but yeah, really like making games, and I was excited to start working with Ebb and Flow because this kind of game, the simulation genre, is like one of my favorites. So I was really happy to find that it was a good fit, and so far I've really enjoyed it.
Nice. Yeah, we have a list of things that we want to talk about for today. If you have any questions along the way, please don't hesitate to post them. I'll monitor the chat, and if there's anything that comes up that is related to what we are talking about at the moment, we'll try to instantly reply. But if it's something that can wait until the end, we would like to try and collect those kind of questions until the end. All right. Bri, do you want to start about the latest update then?
Yeah, let me just pull up my notes. So I can't find the tab right when I need it. Okay, yeah. So first off, there's a new update coming out real soon, um, and it's got a few things that I know everyone's gonna like. Um, but let's start with plantable trees and bushes. So in the next update, you'll be able to destroy a bush and move it around, and trees won't automatically grow back in the same spot. There will be a way to like fully destroy a tree and then get a tree seed that you can use to plant elsewhere on the map. That way you can kind of use trees and bushes as a bit of a decoration. You can put them closer to your base so that they're easier to farm for you. So I thought that was a pretty fun addition. It adds a lot of like simulation gameplay to the game. We also made some changes to the carrier AI. So I noticed that the carriers weren't always picking up the things that we were hoping they would pick up, and they didn't really seem to be making smart decisions. So we changed the way that they prioritize objects. We let them move a little farther away from the base than previously. And there's still some more we want to do with it, but I think that this first improvement makes them behave a little more humanly. There's sometimes they don't always 100% prioritize the most obvious choice, so they're going to be a little more erratic, but it does help clear up some things. There were definitely some loopholes you could get stuck in where they would always be so overwhelmed with farming food that they would never pick up other small objects that were on the ground somewhere else. And so this more erratic behavior means that sometimes they will make a decision that doesn't necessarily make immediate sense, but on the whole, it feels a little more human and plays out a little nicer. So we're going to see how that works. So far, I think it's been a good improvement. We added a new decoration, which is the signpost, so you can put little cute signposts around your village. Not a major update, but a fun one. More decorations. And there was a VFX crash bug that we had for certain graphics cards were having an issue, and we fixed that. And the final update that's coming in is the one that I think you'll all love, which is that we increased the loot drops for monsters in the dungeon. So, yeah, the monsters will now drop much more often the scrolls and candles that you'll need, or parchment and candles for making research. So yeah. Should we take questions, Daniel, or should we?
Yeah, there's one question already. Is it normal that the mule doesn't get damage in the cave? It's normal at the moment, yes. We are looking into better solutions to handle damage for the mule. Right now, we feel it wouldn't be great to lose the mule, so that's why we just made it invincible in the dungeon, which also means that sometimes if you get lucky or skilled at it, you can use the mule to essentially block damage from some enemies, not all of them. But some of them you can block pretty efficiently.
Yeah. There's a question of like, should the mule even be allowed in the dungeon? At the moment, it's kind of necessary with the way that the research works, and that you need a lot of materials. That the mule is very helpful in the dungeon right now, but like Daniel said, because the mule can't fight back, it doesn't really seem fair to let it die in the dungeon. But we'll see if later on what changes about that. We're gonna do some thinking about what would be a good solution and what we will be able to implement quickly. Yeah, the mule shield is is a bit of a hack at the moment. Mule's OP today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go to the dungeon where you will probably see that the drop rates have changed.
You gotta. You're not streaming, by the way.
I am.
Really? Okay.
I think I should be streaming.
Oh, there we go.
Can everyone see my stream?
Wait.
Okay, all good.
I'll see your stream. I can't see your stream. I mean, I trust.
I'm just gonna fight some snakes.
Okay. There we go. It wasn't appearing in. There we go. I see it now. Sorry, everyone. So now your stream is on the record. So. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, so we just killed like I think 4 snakes, maybe just 3. I don't remember how many there were, and we got like 2 candles out of them. So we more than doubled the rates, right?
Yes, I believe that's accurate.
Do you want to maybe explain like the future of these research resources, how we intended them to be? Because the snakes dropping candles directly is just like an intermediate solution to, an intermediate implementation to more of what we have planned, right?
Yeah, ultimately I'd like to see a more robust crafting system in the game. So when we were first talking about the research points and how you earned them, I really wanted it to be something that you craft. So ideally, the dungeon is a place that you go to get raw materials, and then you bring those back to your village and you can craft them into something useful for yourself. So maybe the hogs just drop leather or something like that. And so ultimately the candles we thought would be made out of like monster fat or something that you render down into candles. So that's a thing, like you would have a station back at home where you could craft things from the materials that you find in the dungeon, and then paper you could make from farming like papyrus or something. So you might be able to tell your farm, like, instead of making berries, I want you to make paper, and then you've got like some ingredients coming from your farm, some ingredients coming from the dungeon, and they combine to make research points. So that's kind of the Um, that's kind of the future plan for like why monsters are dropping candles right now. Because the idea was that, okay, a researcher needs candles and paper to like do the research like but ultimately those wouldn't be things that would drop directly from the monsters. Then yeah, there's other ideas we want to do with this crafting system that we have planned, like but in general, yeah, some parts of the game will be sustainable through one region, like there are things that you can do without leaving your home village, and then other things that are going to encourage you to go to different parts of the game to explore. So there's some questions in here. Yes,
Yeah.
part has a really low drop rate right now, Baptiste, because, and that's why we're improving it. Like we're making it easier, because we play tested a bunch the last 2 weeks and realized, yeah, it's a little bit too hard at the moment.
Yeah, something that's also new, the slime that I just defeated. Before we didn't have the slimes drop anything, but now they also drop parchment. So the parchment should not just be increased in terms of drop rates, but also there's one additional enemy that can drop parchment now. There you go. There we have one parchment.
Yeah. And then there's a question, will there be some kind of clock to let you know when night is coming? That's not on our list exactly. I kind of like the idea that you should be able to know when night is about to approach. Maybe that's just having better like environmental cues, right? Like a sunset, right, would let you know that night's coming as well. But yeah, not against it. Not against it. There's some more stuff we want to do with the day and nighttime cycle as well, which we're going to get into later. Yeah, anything else in the dungeon we want to show off, Daniel, or do you want to go back to the city?
Yeah, I could go back to the city. Let me just finish this floor.
All
right.
One more level.
It definitely helped that we leveled up the characters before we started the stream. Because now that I'm doing like 35 attack damage, it's pretty easy, at least on the first levels. Yeah, so let's go back to the city.
You can see that the trees and bushes are all placed a little differently, and we have a pretty big city now.
Yeah, I can show off the planting again, and we can talk about it. I did that in the beginning.
Oh yeah,
but
on record. So
yeah,
right now when you chop down a tree, it drops a seed, and you can plant that seed. We're looking at making it so that there's like 2 levels of chop. Wait, before you go to the bushes, let me explain the tree.
Okay, sorry. I'll do the tree again.
So yeah, right now in the current prototype we've got going on, like knocking down a tree immediately gives you 1 wood and 1 pine cone, which you can plant to make a new tree. But this can make it a little difficult to farm. It kind of, the forester doesn't work very well with this implementation. So what we're probably going to move towards is one in which chopping down the tree, it will regrow just like normal. But the stump will be there for a little bit, and if you chop down the stump, then you get a pine cone, right? So if you want to just get wood, you can just harvest wood, and if you want to move the tree, there's like a second action you can take to chop down the stump and then move that tree essentially to a different place by replanting it. Now go ahead and go to the bushes, and I'll show what happens there.
Yes. Let's look for some bushes.
Yeah, so
there we have one.
If you hit the bush once, you get the berry, but if you hit it more times, I think 5 more times, then you basically destroy the bush, and then you get the little sapling that you can plant somewhere else. So now you can move bushes effectively.
And you can put them closer in your village. So even before you have the berry farm, you could put the bushes like, I don't know, close, and then you can harvest them pretty easily. And combined with the carriers being more likely to pick up items on the ground now, this is really helpful for getting your food production sorted, at least, especially in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, the early game food cycle still isn't perfect, but we're getting closer, and we have some other ideas that we're going to do to help improve that early game automation. So, yeah. Let's see. There's a question about team members. How many team members do we anticipate to have for the first 1 or 2 years? I have no idea.
So we are 5 people now at the moment, and we're feeling quite comfortable with the team. The things we have planned, I think, are very realistic for the team size. I think later on we might need to consider taking on someone for more active testing, I would say. Right now, what we do at the end of each like update cycle is we all test together. But sometimes it would be helpful to have someone dedicated investigate certain issues that players are reporting. So I think that might be something that could work well for us.
Yeah. Game development is also notorious for not scaling super well. So making a game with 2 people versus making a game with 4 people, like the team with 4 people doesn't go twice as fast, right? That's and finding people who are a good fit, it can be very difficult, and so you want to be really careful with expansion. Let's see. And then, do you want to add any zooming out options to get a further view of the town? Can tease a few little things that we want to do with this about zooming out. I don't know if there's a technical restriction for zooming out, Daniel. Do you is there going to be a rendering issue if we let?
No, we just have to adjust some settings. I think shadow rendering distance right now is pretty low, so that it just covers the area that we see. And when zooming out, we obviously would have to increase the shadow rendering distance, but like technically, there's no limitation.
Okay, so it's definitely a possibility. There's yeah, we definitely want stuff that happens. Oh, 3 monsters this time.
Yeah, I'm not prepared for this.
Do you have a sword?
I do have a sword, but I only have 1 companion, and I should have swapped them out for. I should have swapped the mule out for another fighter.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Oh, but the 35 attack damage really helps.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, some of the, I can talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's coming up in the next update, right? Like stuff that we want to do going forward, like not in our immediate next milestone, but stuff that's coming up soon. Yes. So there's a question about this exactly. Like, do we plan on expanding the raiders at night with different mobs and difficulty? Yeah, we want to do something more fun with the nighttime raids. Like, probably not make them happen every night. Make them a bit more interesting. And part of this is about the combat system in general, which we have some plans to improve. So, right now, like the combat system, we would say is like pretty basic, and it's hard to like get good at it. Like so I'm planning to add some like what we call punch-ups to some of the animations and things. So like making sure that like the sword swing like very clearly defines what is a hit and what's not a hit, so it's like easier to tell if you're within range or like if you made a hit or not. We may add some new weapon types. That's definitely on the list of things to do to make the combat more interesting, like kind of give you some choices around what type of weapon you want to use. Yeah, shields, as you point out. Yeah, shields are also on the list of potential additions to the combat system. But before we go adding a lot of new items, I want to just make sure that the basics of combat are already feeling better. So This is like faster sword animation so that it's more immediate when you press the button that something happens. So you can time your attacks better. You know, maybe if a hog is charging you and you like time the attack just right, you can like stop it with your sword. That might be fun. Maybe a charge attack, so like hold down the attack button, charge up an attack, and then spin, or do some kind of extra damage or farther swing, something like that. So there's lots of cool things. We've been making a big list of fun stuff that we would like to do to the combat system. The other one that's coming up in the near future is what we're calling the inventory problem. So right now, when you have companions and you are trying to move a lot of stuff or carry things around, we developed a system that they try and act a little smart. You know, so they're like, okay, well, what are you holding? Oh, you're picking up wood? Okay, we're gonna pick up wood too. You know, but ultimately there's some flaws to that. We're never gonna be able to perfectly predict what you, the player, want the companions to do.
Whoops.
Oh, did you crash?
I think it did.
Oh no.
That's not too good.
Put it in the error log. Yeah, this is still unreleased, right? Untested. So.
Yeah, it's the current build that we are testing for release. So something like this is still normal.
Yeah. Yeah, we're never going to be able to perfectly predict what you want the companions to do. One example is now that you can move trees around, you might want to decorate with the trees, make a nice row of trees. But if you start chopping down one tree, maybe, you know, the AI comes in and chops down some trees that you didn't want them to chop down, right? So
yeah, we can demonstrate that if you'd like. So I'm gonna add another companion here.
Can you? Oh, I need to watch your stream again. There we go. So yeah, we have these trees here, and like maybe go chop out the one that's north of you.
Oh, this one works.
So yeah,
we can try this.
Well, I think
we can do this, but yeah, then she chops down the next one. If I just wanted to remove the first one, that wouldn't be possible at the moment, which is a bit of a disappointment, right? So you would want to control specifically which trees are being chopped down, which you couldn't.
Yeah.
Right now.
Issues with the companion AI, but especially I think the one that everyone's been talking about lately has been when you go in the dungeon and you don't have the mule yet, and you have one parchment and one candle, and you can pick up the candle, and then your companion drops the parchment because they're trying to pick up the same thing as you, right? There's no way to take both a candle and a parchment out of the dungeon at the same time without a mule. So, someone says they can't see our stream. Can someone else confirm? Are we back live again?
Yeah.
And I know there was like 1 minute where...
I think you need to rejoin the video stream.
Yeah, if you're in the audience...
the screen share.
Daniel's the one sharing live, so just say, like, view that stream. Let's try that. Let us know if it doesn't work. Okay. So, yeah, there's no way right now to take two different types of objects out of the dungeon without a mule, which is why we moved the mule to unlock much earlier, so that would be a little more possible for everyone. But ultimately, the mule is a pretty big feature, and we want to put that back at the end, the middle of the game, and just make it more easy to use your companions to do stuff. So one of the options we're looking into is how you can use your companions as a bit of an inventory system by telling them what to pick up. So if you pick up one object and then you pick up a second object, you basically your character passes the first object off to one of the companions, and then you're like manually controlling what everyone is holding, and that way you could take more than one object type out of the dungeon at the same time. So it's going to make that early game feel a lot more nice before you have the mule, you know. And let's see.
I'm gonna try and restart the stream then, since it's still not visible to some.
Okay, close the stream. Yeah, now let me know when you're live again.
It should be live again now.
Okay, so everyone go click on Daniel's name and then watch stream. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the inventory system that we're working on. We're looking at different solutions for like how to implement it with both on controller support and on keyboard support, like how to rotate through the items that all of your people are carrying. But it should help the game quite a lot. It should make it a lot easier to move stuff around, because the AI is not trying to be smart, but is rather just doing what it's told.
Yeah, helpful.
Yeah. The other stuff we have coming up in the next milestone is food consumption simulation. So right now, whenever people eat food, it's all at once, just like chopped it right out of your inventory. The food magically disappears. And I think one of the fun things about these kind of simulation games is that the structure, the layout of your city matters, like in terms of efficiency. So what we wanted to add was that the characters actually have to walk over to get the food and then eat it and then go back to work, right? So if you have a blacksmith and they're working on your sword, and they get hungry, then they're gonna walk over to the food storage, take one food, and then walk back. This would happen asynchronously, so it's not all going to happen immediately at the same time. It's like characters will get hungry at different rates, and it'll feel a little more natural. It'll make your city look more alive because people will be walking around, and then it matters where you put your food storage, right? If you put your food storage all the way to one side of the city, then people who work on the other side of the city are going to have to walk all the way over there and walk back, so you're going to miss out on some of their work, right? So that's a thing that I think is going to add to the simulation feel of the game quite a lot, and make some more interesting decisions around how you lay out your town. Then adding tabs to the building menu is another thing we're adding on the UI side. So right now we added decorations. So now decorations have made the buildings list really huge. So we want to break that out and say like, okay, buildings get their own decorations get their own area of the build menu, and you can navigate a little more easily. And then one of the other things
right now, this is a pretty big list, as you can see. So especially since we added the decorations down here, it's become a little overcrowded.
Yeah. The other thing that we've already started working on is village paths. So we are making like different types of roads that you can add to your village, and the artwork's in progress at the moment. And one of the things that we want the roads to be able to do is to help people move faster throughout your city. So maybe they move slower than they do on grass right now, and then you build a road, and then now they move faster. And that way, like, it's another way of upgrading your city, and it also looks quite cool. We have lots of different types of road, and you can make cool patterns with them. You can decorate with them a bit, and yeah, that's coming up as well. So that's kind of
we can share some of the concepts in the chat if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
You want to post
this image here, which is an overview over all the different paths and tiles that we are trying out to see if they work. We might use multiple versions, like multiple different variations. We might not use all of them. It's just something that we're working on to find like a look that we are happy with.
Yeah. Yeah, we should probably post that somewhere where people can see if they are watching the recording later.
Uh, yes, we can just edit the video and put it on the screen.
Gotcha. Yeah, so that's kind of our plan for the milestone after the next launch, which is coming up soon. And we have some like long-term roadmap stuff that we're also looking at, which is this big feature that we're calling villager attraction, satisfaction, and death. So basically, right now you build a house and your villager just immediately shows up, but like we're thinking it would be more fun if you actually have to make your city attractive. They don't just show up because they come with the house, but rather you build the house and then they come to your town when their needs are met. So like if you have enough food and you have an extra house and some other conditions are probably met, then someone might show up to come live in your city, which means you can also de-attract them. So if something else is wrong, like if you don't have enough food, maybe they move out, or if as your city grows, the demands would probably also grow. So like later on, it could be, oh, the city's not beautiful enough, so I won't, like people might move out because they will have a higher expectation of what your city can deliver, what your kingdom has for them, right? Then the other question is what happens when villagers die. Right now there is not really a punishment. They just lose their items that they were carrying. But so yeah, we are looking at making villager death a little more permanent. So you have to attract a new person. They don't just come back as themselves. Obviously, the way that the current leveling up system works would be very bad for this. Like, it would not fit very well. So that's why this is one of the bigger changes, because making this change also requires that we make many other changes for the game to still work well. So ideally, I would like it that, you know, the people in your village, you get to know them a little bit. They have a bit more personality than they do now. And then you really may want to protect them because if they die, then they're gone, right? So it's a change that I think adds some more like depth to the simulation as well. So one way that we're looking at making the villagers more unique is giving them some desires of their own. So like someone might move to your town and they might want to be a blacksmith, right? And that maybe you have two people who want to be blacksmiths, and you have to decide who gets to be the blacksmith in my town, right? Or who's a carrier, who's a farmer, right? And as this kind of ties into the XP system, which is like as they right now the XP system only matters for combat, right? You earn levels and then you spend them on people to level them up, but really XP should be for everything. Like if someone is a carrier, and they're carrying all the time, they should get better at being a carrier, right? So the longer they do that job, the better they perform at their carrying tasks, and they level up in that in those tasks, right? So yeah, overall we're gonna look at overhauling the XP and level up system to include all villagers, not just the people that are in your party. Yeah, which gets us into one of the other one of the other changes to the party is that we want to add some more specialization. So later on, probably you can level up your companions in different directions. So like maybe they have a job that they do most of the time when they're not in your companions list, and then once you've added them, they can take some of those skills and use them in the dungeon. So like if someone's a carrier and then you put them in your party, like, and they've leveled up as a carrier, that's going to make them really strong, and and they have lots of HP, for example. Or if someone's a blacksmith, maybe they're really good with tools, and like that means they're going to do more damage with weapons. So getting a little bit of like a RPG style party system where the different people in your companions list have different skills, and you kind of make a loadout for dealing with specific bosses, specific dungeons, for example. I think that's going to add a lot of flavor and a lot of interesting choice to who you decide to take with you, right? Ideally, everyone's doing something all the time. All of your villagers are busy, right? Which means like I really want people to make the choice about like, oh yeah, who can I afford to take with me into the dungeon, right? Are some of the NPCs just expendable? Like, is this the new person in town and you're going to take them into the dungeon because you don't care if they die? Or are you taking someone into the dungeon because you need their skills to help you beat a particular level? I think that's where the game and the dungeon is going to get a lot more fun when we have systems like that in place. And the last one we wanted to kind of tease a little bit, because we think it's really fun, is the idea of heraldry. So like creating a shield that represents your kingdom, and that the colors of your shield will be reflected on all the different buildings and castle walls and everything. That's something that's on our list to develop, and we thought it was going to be cute and fun. And I think one idea that I quite like in this direction is that your heraldry should reflect what you've done. So if you've beaten the hog boss, then you can get like a tusk or a boar head on your shield, right? So as you play the game, you unlock different colors and things to add to your shield, so that when someone sees your kingdom, they can see what you've done a little bit. So those are our like the stuff on the longer term roadmap that we can talk about at the moment. Now I can answer some questions. I know I've seen a few already pop up. So the first one is on co-op. So yes, we would like to add co-op. It is a very big feature that takes a very long time to develop. So if we were working on co-op right now, with the 5 of us, you probably wouldn't see any updates for a long time, right? So that's and the other question is, what do you do in the co-op? Those are other things that need to be added before we can really add co-op. Like, what is it that you could do together? Do both players have their own individual kingdom? Do you just invite people into your kingdom, like a friend directly? Do we host our own servers? Do you host your own servers, like local servers? These are all questions, big questions we need to answer before we can make a multiplayer version of the game. So it's definitely on our radar. Like 100% we want to do it, but it's gonna take time. And there are a lot of other things I think we can do now to make the game more fun, much quicker than just adding multiplayer. So I hope that answers your question. It was the first thing I asked when I interviewed, was like, are we going to make this multiplayer? Like, come on. Right? Yeah, it is hard to, multiplayer is like notoriously difficult to implement well. There are a whole number of new bugs that are going to come with multiplayer, so.
Yeah, also another big factor is that a lot of the features that are in the game are not that final yet, I would say. So we're iterating a lot on the game concepts, on the features that are already in there. And the problem is that if you once you have multiplayer, all that iteration is gonna cost you even more time, because you have to make sure that everything also works with multiplayer. So we're trying to find a good point in time where we think that like the game is already there. There's not going to be huge changes in terms of breaking changes for multiplayer, and then we would add multiplayer and then work on other things again. But it's, yeah, as you can imagine, it's difficult to assess when this optimal point in time would be. But we have it on our roadmap, so we're definitely keeping it in mind.
Yeah, the other point is quite good, that once we make multiplayer, all other developments will go slower because they all have to be tested in multiplayer, right? So
Yeah, and the testing is just the part that comes after making everything support multiplayer, right? So if we add a new feature, then multiplayer support for that feature is going to be more time intensive. And as long as we're not sure about the features and not sure whether they will stay either completely or stay the same way we add them, as long as we're not sure on that front, it's really a risk of doing it too early. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
would say in
we're
general.
monitoring it. Go ahead.
In
Sorry.
general, like multiplayer doesn't necessarily make the game more fun. It allows you to have new kinds of fun with your friends, right?
Yeah.
And so it can be a very powerful like multiplying effect to the game's fun. But if there's a lot of stuff that we want to handle first. So I hope that answers that long answer there. But yeah. The other question was, so there's a few other ones. If a villager dies, do we need to destroy their old house, or can a new villager occupy it? I would say there.
At the moment, you can still revive them, but that's definitely going to change, right?
Yeah, I'll answer like what will be the case once we have those features. In case, definitely going forward, when a villager dies, we're decoupling like the house from the villagers a little bit. So like when I said you have to build a house first and then a villager can move in, that also means that a villager who dies, like that frees up the house. So then you just need to attract a new person. Maybe that takes time. Like it's probably not going to be immediate. So it'll be like a waiting period where you're advertising that there's a house available and someone maybe should come and move into your kingdom, and that the other things about your kingdom will probably get them to move in faster or slower. So like if you lost an attack against monsters, maybe people don't feel like it's safe to move into your city for a little bit. But if you have lots of nice decorations and have like just defeated a boss, maybe that's like, oh, this kingdom has it going on, I want to move there. Then you're going to get people filling the house more quickly. So those are kind of the directions we want to move in. But no, you wouldn't need to destroy a house. I hope in the future. I think that should be the case. Then we have another question. Did we make some variation of the tree depending on the terrain? Not yet. We do have different biomes that we want to make later on. This is like a little further down the line. We definitely want we want the world to expand as you explore. Right now the world is quite small, and we want to be able to put in swamps and dark forests and all kinds of fun stuff. And yeah, of course, that would come with different plants, animals, monsters later on. But right now, no, we don't have anything else, any other trees. Will there be new weapons like bows, arrows, or spears? Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, there are some general improvements to the combat system that I want to do first, like speeding up the first part of the animation for weapons so that it's more like punchy, making more clear hitboxes for the enemies, making it so that you can sneak up on enemies. That's another one I want to be able to do. So like right now, the snakes in particular, like they rotate really fast. So if you sneak up on one, they just like kind of teleport around. And I'd like to give them a little bit more of a lag, so they're like kind of, you can sneak up and get a few hits in before they're able to turn around and bite you. Right, that would be a general improvement to the combat system. And then once we've done some of these things, also adding more weapon types and saying like, yeah, spears, bow and arrow, shields, those are all on the list of things that we want to add. But these also tie into changes to the blacksmith that we want to do, right? So how does the blacksmith make weapons? Like, why are all the weapons made out of wood? That's another thing. We're probably going to add some more materials later on, so you might have to go into a mine to get, the iron to make higher level swords. And so weapon leveling is another thing that we want to add. So like you can kind of unlock better weapons as you explore deeper into the dungeon. And someone's commenting that different styles of houses would be nice. That is something that we looked into, the upgrading the houses to make, like, and what that might do, like maybe letting more than one villager live in a house, like have a family. Those things are all on the list of potential feature updates. We're only a few people, so development is always, we need to like be prioritizing what's the most important changes that we can make the fastest. But yeah, that's also on our list of, especially for the variety, just so that your town looks nicer. If there's different size houses and different varieties, and yeah, that's why we added the decorations. That's why we're adding the roads as well, because it'll make everything look nicer, and then we can also have a little bit of a mechanical tie-in as well. So, any other questions from the chat? Daniel, do you have anything else that I missed?
I don't think so. I thought I'd be smart and show off the combat, but now I feel like I'm going to die to the skeleton because I absolutely hate them.
They are tough.
I'm tougher.
Run
Oh no.
Run away.
Oh! I did it. No, I think you covered pretty much all of the things that we wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah, I think that's everything from our list. Yeah, any did people like this? was this a good format? You know, we're trying to be as transparent as possible here, and trying to launch as often as possible. I think one of the big discussions we had last week with people on the forum was, or on the Discord, forum. The Discord was like this idea about balancing release schedules and features, right? So like we want to keep adding to the game. We want to keep showing that things are improving, right? Because we can make we have a pretty effective team. I think we're developing. I was one of the things that made me want to join was I was impressed how fast everyone at Ebb and Flow Games was at like delivering things, and so I think that our team, we can actually deliver quite quickly. But there are big things that are going to take more than one milestone to like implement because of like the time that it takes to develop big features. And so there was a question of like, okay, would it be okay for us not to make a release every 2 weeks? But like if we missed one because there's a big thing coming, is that okay? And I don't know. Like I don't know the right answer for that. Like definitely if we only focus on really small things that we can build in 1 week, then the game never gets the big changes that we really think it needs. But if we only focus on the big changes, then to the audience it feels really stagnant, like nothing's changing, nothing's getting better. So I'm curious like what you guys think about that.
I think what's also important to consider is that not all the update packages that we prepare are the same. So sometimes you might feel that there has been a lot of content added. Sometimes you may feel that things haven't changed much. But the real question that we have been asking ourselves as well is like, what is it that we even consider content, right? Because it's not just like pure playtime or more things to unlock, but it's rather objectives that you can work for and things that you can like set as your own goals, and then you work towards achieving them. So not every update will provide new objectives. That I think is pretty clear. But what we want to do is like make things more enjoyable with every update. So the next one that we talked about in the beginning, where we're adding these plantable trees and we're increasing the drop rates, and there's also this important VFX fix in there. This is something that we considered it's worth the time of releasing it and getting it to you, because a lot of people will benefit from that. And also after the last update, a couple of people were saying that they think the drop rates are too low and they can't get any. In this case, it was parchment that was lacking a lot. So yeah, we're trying to address these things as they come up, and trying not to anticipate too much in terms of user feedback. So we're thinking about what can we do to make the game better, and then we have to see like how you guys react to it, and then we can react to your feedback. That's how we imagine it. So there will always be a rhythm of, I would say, a bigger package of updates. Then there might be feedback, and we do a couple of smaller updates that fix certain things that you mentioned. But in the end, we're working towards this grand vision of the game. And we're also hoping to increase the time you can enjoy in the game long term. So yeah, it's best if you just give us your honest feedback every time there's a new update, so that we know how everyone feels about things, and then we can work with that. Uh, and it's really helpful. It's been really helpful the way things have been so far. Um, and I think if we continue like this, and every one of you is as helpful as before, it's going to be great.
Great. Yeah, we're getting some good feedback in the for this in the chat. But yeah, some other stuff that Daniel and I have talked about would be for being more transparent, would be maybe opening up some of our like actual work. Like I know Flambeer Games did this with Nuclear Throne quite a lot, which was that there was a scheduled time to like live stream development, which I'm open to making design decisions with an audience. I don't know if anyone's interested in that. Definitely, you can always hit me up in the Discord and ask questions about design. I try and check it every day and answer people's questions there. So if there's a decision that I made and you think that it was a bad one, like why did you do this? Like I will defend. You know, I'm open to defending my position on these things. And if you have a better idea, if I think you're right, then you know you're right. But yeah, I always try and explain like how things fit into the bigger picture of the design direction. I think the last update, like with the research, is one where I think maybe we shouldn't have launched it as it was, right? Like that was one where we were struggling with this balance, like I mentioned, like of okay, well it works functionally, but like is it fun yet? Like is it ready? And it was like, okay, well if we don't do it, then everyone's expecting a release this week, so let's just see how it goes and we'll try and make it as good as we can. But it really does need some of the tweaks that we have been working on to make it feel better. And the inventory system upgrade is going to make it feel much better. So yeah, I think we're still learning what the right pace is for us. Definitely every release comes with its own level of work where, you know, before we bundle it up, we need to test on different machines and make sure there's no bugs before we release it to everyone, all of you guys. So releasing more often also comes with some extra work, which is time taken away from development. But I think that right now, the every 2 weeks, like we're gonna try and keep with it. And if we don't hit that, we're gonna let you know. We're gonna tell you why. So like what happened, like what is it that's causing us to fall behind? We're not even fall behind, but just like it's gonna be because we're working on something that's too big to get out in one milestone. Although, so I think if we do make a release and you just see like, oh, here's a few new decorations and some bug fixes and some tweaks to the AI or whatever, like that usually means that the next release is going to be a big one, like with some big feature, right? So
So someone says, all jokes aside, maybe if we're a horrible king, can we get a riot from our villagers where they get pitchforks and torches?
Yeah,
I like
I
that.
love it. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we talked about with the like making sure that your villagers are satisfied, right? You don't want them to get out the guillotine.
Yeah.
um,
All right. Yeah, we're nearing the end of the time slot for the stream. If you have any further questions that we can address, please post them, and we will do our best. I would like to do a shout out to Vincent from Backtrace, because actually Backtrace is the service that helps us identify crash or the causes for crashes, like the one that you've seen before during the stream. So after the stream, I can go. I can use Backtrace to find out what went wrong, because it's like a crash reporting service that we're using. And it also helps us figure out problems that you are reporting.
mhm.
Um, so thanks, Vincent, for having joined. I've seen you've also posted a lot of feedback, so thanks for that. If there's anything else that is unclear or that you would like to see, then please let us know. If you have any feedback about the format, you can post it in any channel you like. We're reading all of them. I think the event chat channel would be best. We're going to try, or we're going to look into streaming on Twitch for the next one, maybe. I don't want to promise it just yet, but we think that it might be best to like open up the format to a more public audience and also maybe increase discoverability. But obviously, as you might know, with streaming on Twitch, there's a lot more setup to be done, like setting up scenes and making sure that we're both visible, we're working remotely and are not sitting in the same room. So those kinds of things are something that we need to figure out. And I think for the next one we can do that. For this one, we already hopefully took care of the recording. We'll see at the end if it worked. Hopefully it did.
Yeah, we did it
Uh,
successfully. So,
yeah.
really excited. I'm looking back through the questions. There's one from earlier on that I couldn't get to at the
Right.
moment, but Lordy Matsuo asked, which genre do you think the game is heading more down, base building and exploration, or more on base defense? That we had like a tower defense sort of game. I think that like our game is a hybrid of a few different genres. Like there, if you look at the what would you call like colony sim style games, like we definitely are in that category, probably the strongest. But there are things that we do that no other colony sim does, right? Like you have an individual character and a party of adventurers, right? So it's got this kind of action RPG crossover element to it as well. I definitely want to stay in that hybrid mode. I think defending your town is going to be like an important thing long term. I don't think we're going to get rid of that. I don't like the current implementation. I think needs a lot of work. Like it's not like the most fun tower defense at the moment. So today Daniel and I were talking about like, you know, how can you empower your villagers to help defend against the monsters? How can we make sure that the monsters don't just keep leveling up until they're too overwhelming and get frustrating? You know, like like I think what we have is a really good proof of concept, and there's some things that we can do to make it better. But I'd like it to see. I think some of the other places where it needs some work in the colony sim side is on the actual simulation, which is why we're doing the food, improving the food simulation, improving like the workers' needs, and so that they can get mad at you, you know, if you're a bad king. So yeah, and a little bit more on the expressiveness side too. Like, can you customize your character? Can you make like new armor and clothes for your villagers? Like, you know, all these things, which to really get into the details of a colony sim style game, having a robust crafting system is going to be very important to that. So that's why everything builds on these foundations of core mechanics like the combat system, the crafting system, the worker AI, and we could add something really flashy right now, but if it's built on a bad foundation, right, it's not going to be fun in the end. So that's why sometimes we're going to make changes where it doesn't feel like it's a big change, but I think on mechanically it will be. There were some other recent questions about the website roadmap as well. So the roadmap on our website, this is the one where it's talking about like the different bosses in the map that you shared with me today, right, Daniel?
I think that's in the blog, but the roadmap on the website is, it's a bit outdated. The things that are on the roadmap, they are not wrong, but I think like some of the stuff like the wheat farm and the bakery haven't been marked as released yet. So we have a more detailed plan for a roadmap already. I just didn't get to updating the public one, and we also need to discuss like how much information we want to put there, because obviously our plans may change depending on feedback and stuff like that. And we definitely don't want to promise something that we then in the end can't keep up with. So yeah, I guess I'll have to update the public roadmap soon, and provide some more feedback about uh, the path we're trying to take in the immediate future and also long term. It's a bit difficult to do that on the public roadmap because all those items, they seem like they are separate features, but for long term stuff, we might just put like general descriptions of our goals there. And for more immediate stuff that's going to be implemented sooner, we may put more specific feature descriptions there. So you always have to kind of see how specific the things are. And what we did so far, I think, was also we put on a rough date or milestone, like the version of the game where we will implement those things that are on the roadmap. And I'll do that as well. But yeah, it's going to change soon because it's, as of now, it's a bit outdated.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that the roadmap on the website was made before I joined, and kind of necessarily as the design director. Like I wouldn't do my job if I wasn't kind of helping direct the of the game going forward. So we're constantly evaluating like the decisions that we've made in the past and like whether or not they're still holding true. I think like reactive game design is definitely the direction we want to go in. So if there are things about the game that you're finding really fun, please let us know, because that will help let us know what which direction the audience wants us to develop, right? So like if you I think the game is going to be somewhere in this hybrid of action RPG, colony sim, tower defense. But like, if we make changes that you don't like, please let us know. So that helps us make better future decisions about the game. I come with my own like ideas about what will make the game more fun. But I'm not always right, and we find out together through playing the game, through testing and through audience feedback. So it's quite valuable to us. Yeah. I guess have we looked at using Trello boards to keep everyone updated? We do use a tool internally that's like somewhat similar to Trello that our friends made called Codex, which is like a game development specific tool. But I think we'll just try and make sure that the website is more clear. One thing that I do kind of want to share, I think maybe in the next stream we can build it into part of our presentation or something. But what we came up with when I first joined was this idea of game design pillars. So like, what are the ideas that are driving the game design forward? And these are kind of like guiding posts for all of our decisions. And I think that might be something that people, like everyone, might be interested in seeing, because it can kind of give you a sense of like why we make certain decisions about the game design. So I'll try and add that to the next stream if everyone thinks it might be valuable. But
Codex, Codex, the tool that we're using, is also coming with a way to handle feature requests or suggestions on Discord. And I've looked into it, and I think ideally we would want to use that on the Kingdom Builder server on Discord as well, so that people can actually vote on suggestions. So the community would create a certain suggestion with a command, and then I think every day or every couple of hours, the bot would repost the full list of suggestions, and then you can just click the suggestion to vote on it. And the more votes it gets, like the votes are done via an emoji, I think, and the more votes it gets, the further up it moves in the list, so everyone can more easily see like what are the current suggestions, what are the ones that people have voted most on. And I think in the near future we will set that up for Discord, but it's also something that requires time. And
I definitely want to post, like, when we do get to a case where we're not sure what we think would be best next. I'm totally open to putting it up to an audience. But I think right now there's like everything seems pretty clear about which things need to come first. Like what would have the biggest impact to the game with the development resources that we have. But I think probably in the next few milestones there'll be some decisions where we could go one way or the other, and probably like open that up to the audience and say like, what do you
do like a poll.
Great. Yeah. So I think we're out of time today. But we're gonna try and keep this regular. We'll definitely announce when the next one's gonna happen. Maybe we even have a regular schedule that we try and stick to.
Yeah.
Set a schedule, and then Daniel and I are gonna practice on Twitch and see if that works for us, technically speaking, because it would be nice to be able to have people discover us through this, right? And not just like a kind of a way of getting new fans. And I hope everyone's enjoying the game so far. Like the we're doing our best to get it ready for the full launch as quickly as possible. Add the stuff that everyone wants. Make the game better.
And it would be amazing if you would tell your friends about it, because even though you can't play with them yet, you will definitely be able to play with them in the future. Spread the word and let us know what they think about the game.
Yeah, and the Discord's open to everyone, even if you don't have the game yet. I know a lot of people were posting, like, should I get the game? Should I? So, like, they want to come in and see what we're about and join a live stream, talk to the devs,
Yeah.
And if there's other stuff that you want to see from these streams, like if you want to, like, hear about how things are made or anything else, let us know, and we can incorporate that into the stream. So today's stream was mostly about what's coming next, like what our new roadmap plans are kind of looking like. But we can show off like how is the game made, how is the artwork done. If any of you are like aspiring game devs and you have questions for us about game dev in general, like I'm open to it. And I mean, I'm not even just in a live stream. If you have questions, just hit me up on Discord. Post in the chat. I'm always there. So. With that, thanks Daniel for playing the game for us, and
thanks for taking us through all of the questions. Thanks to everyone who joined for posting questions and being there today, and hope to see you on the next one.
Yeah, bye everybody.
Bye. Have a nice rest of the day.